So today's project is going to be a little mini book, a matchbook style book, and we're going to be using a die cut tag to make the cover of it. You've seen me use these tags before. These are die cut using the Tim Holtz Alterations large tag cutting die. If you don't have this die, doesn't matter, you can cut these out freehand. I mean, it's basically a rectangle with two little corners knocked off, and this one runs at just over 3 inches wide by just over 6 inches long. But you can make it whatever size you want. All you need to do is remember to adjust the size of the pages that's going in so as it fits inside the little book as we're making it. So I've die cut my tag from, it's a reasonable weight piece of card, probably around about 300 GSM. And we're going to score it, that's why I've got my hoogie board here, because we're going to fold it to make the shape of the cover. So going from the shaped end of the tag, we're going to score 1 inch in from that end. And we're just going to score and make a fold like that. Now from that fold, we want to score 3 inches over. So butting up that fold at the end, we go to the 3 inch mark, and we're going to make a score line there and just fold it. And we want one more line. And to do that, I'm going to just move this out 1/4 inch and then score on that 3 inch line again. So that's just going to create a little 1/4 inch spine for us on our book. Like that. If you don't have a scoreboard, just use a pencil and a ruler to measure, and then take a bone folder or a ball pointed embossing tool and run it down the ruler to make a score line. Don't worry if you don't have the scoreboard. So now that we've done this, I don't want there to be this big hole in the tag. So if you've cut your tag out by hand from a piece of card, you won't have that hole in, so you don't necessarily need to do this next step. But I've just cut a piece of card that'll fit inside, and I'm going to glue it in place, and that'll just cover over that hole for me because I don't want that hole to be there. So I'm just using some Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. It's a good strong PVA glue, dries quickly. And I'm going to glue that little piece of card in place and just let that dry for a few moments. Now for the pages of my book, I've cut some pieces of scrapbook paper, and this time I've chosen some that's got different sort of grid and lined ledger paper type print. And you could use anything. You could use plain paper if you wanted. I'm just trying to work my way through a giant stack of papers I've got. The one I've used is this Recollections pad, which is a huge stack of 180 sheets, and believe it or not, I use this an awful lot, and if I live to be 100, I'm never going to get to the end of it. I think I'm going to be buried with the rest of this. But it was around about £20 for the stack of 180 12 by 12 sheets, so brilliant value. Each sheet was, is only a couple of pence. And I do find that there's a good selection of patterns in there. There's florals and dots and stripes and these sort of gridded ones, which are really nice. A good suggestion as well, if you've got stacks of paper and there's, you think there's lots in there that you don't necessarily like, I quite often use the back of them, because these are just single-sided, and I do my jelly prints on the back. If I don't like the pattern that's on the front of it, I tear it out of the pad and use the back side of the paper to do jelly prints on. That way it's not going to waste, and you make the most of what you've got in your stash. But these sort of things, they're good value, and I quite like the designs that's on these. So what I did for my pages was I die cut these using the tag die again, but then I cut the page down to 4 7/8 of an inch, because when folded in half I need it to fit inside this area. So basically I've cut this end piece off like there, and discarded the end, so that when we fold the page in half, it's going to fit nicely inside our little book. So cut as many as you want, and then we're going to fold them in half. Now I don't want them to all be the same way, so that we've got white showing. So I'm going to fold one that way, and then fold the next one that way, alternating like this, so that we'll get alternate patterned and plain pages showing as we flip through the book. I'm just going to continue doing that through my little pile of pages until we get to the end. So there we have all our pages folded to make our signature. There's only going to be one signature in this book. I've got 12 sheets here, 12 sheets of paper, but you can use as many as you want. I don't think we could get many more than 12 in there. That's quite a nice fit. But depending on the thickness of your paper and the size of your tag, obviously if you're doing it smaller or larger, you can adjust the amount of pages. So before we put the pages in, we're going to decorate the cover, and I'm going to cover it with washi tape. So I've got a selection of washi tapes that I think might go with my papers. I've chosen some with sort of grids and measurements, black and white, and touches of colour, a bit of red. I want it to sort of fit with this ephemera theme that I've got here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to open up the cover, and we're going to cover it front and back with strips of washi tape. So starting at the straight end, leaving a little bit of washi tape overhanging the edge of the tag, I'm going to go up one side, flip it over, press it down on the other side, and trim the excess off. Now you can choose to trim as you go, or you could do the trimming right at the end. I prefer to do it as I'm going along. Just find it easier without having any more sort of sticky bits hanging over the edge. And then just take the next patterned washi tape, butt it up next to the first, again leaving a little bit overhanging, and flip it over, and trim off the excess. And we're going to do this with all the washi tape until we get to the other end. Now when you get to these bits that are over the fold, you want to make sure that they are stuck down well, because you might find the edges want to just start lifting up with the movement of opening and closing this. If it turns out that you've got, say the edge of it ends on the fold, you can always add a little bit of glue underneath just for a more secure fit, because washi tape is to all intents and purposes quite repositionable. Or you could overlap it slightly with the one next to it. Just see where it ends on yours that you're making, and if you feel it needs a little bit of extra help with some glue, then feel free to put some in there. Now we've finished decorating our cover, we're going to add a brad that will act as a little fasten to hold the book shut. So I'm going to use a pokey tool and make a little hole. This is why I didn't want the giant hole in my tag, because the brad would move about if we left it there. So I can feel where that hole was, so I know where the centre of my tag is. So I'm just going to make a hole and I'm going to pop a brad through. This is an Ideology brad. They come with some little stickers and a dome. And then we can use that just to tuck the cover underneath and hold it shut. So the last thing to do now will be to stitch the signature in place. And again, using the pokey tool, we need to make some holes so that we can thread some twine through and attach it to the cover. Now, if you want to measure, you can do, but this is quite small, so it's easy enough to do it by eye. And I'm going to make a hole in the centre, first of all. I'm going to poke my pokey tool right through there. And then I'm going to go halfway between that hole and the edge on each side. And that'll give me 3 evenly spaced holes to thread my twine through. So now I've done that, I need to transfer those markings onto the spine of our little book here. So you can open it up and you can see where the spine is. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky with the pattern of the washi tape. But what I'm going to do is just, again, by eye, because it's small enough to do it. Just going to pop that there so I can see where my holes are. And then just mark 3 holes that will line up on my cover. And just make those a little bit bigger. Now you could use some heavy duty sewing thread, you could use some embroidery thread. I've got some baker's twine here. This is a Stampin' Up one, I think. And I'm going to cut a piece of that, and using a large needle with a large eye just to make life easier, I'm going to start off by going through the centre hole in my signature. And the centre hole in the cover. I'm going to pull that through, leaving an end there so that I can tie it. And then I'm going to find one of the holes in the cover and the pages and come back up through there. I'm going to go straight to the one at the top and go through the pages and the hole in the cover. Now this is the bit that's slightly fiddly. We're going to go back in through the middle hole and come up on the opposite side of that string. So I've got my tail on this side, there's the center piece of thread, and I'm going to come up on the other side of that thread. Give it a bit of a pull, take the needle out, and then tie it in a knot so it holds that central thread down. And then just trim the ends off. I don't like to trim them too short, I don't really see the point. But there we have a neat little stitched binding, all our pages held in place, and we can just tuck that under there to close it. So that's really simple little project, makes a fun little notebook. I did make another one on a different theme. This one has more of a floral theme, so I've got some floral and animal life washi tapes. I've used a little gem brad instead of the one with the number on. And inside there's some floral papers. And this one I've used some orange twine. But again, exactly the same principle as this one. So these are so ideal for popping into Happy Mail. Easy to put in an envelope and post. Make a nice little stocking filler or gift for a crafty friend. But it's a good way of using up offcuts of scrapbooking papers that you might not otherwise use. Good way of using up that stash of washi tape that we've all got lying around. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. As always, if you did, please leave a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm rapidly approaching 1,500 subscribers, so absolutely grateful to every one of you who does watch and likes these videos and comments. I do enjoy reading the comments that you leave. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.